Well, hi, thank you for joining us. We are so excited to talk to you about igniting your brain-body connection. My name is Kirsten Quick. I'm a nationally certified personal trainer, health coach, instructor. I've owned several youth fitness businesses, and I work with kids one-on-one. And I'm here with Carrie Kling. And Carrie, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, thank you so much for inviting me. My name is Carrie Kling, and I'm a 30-plus year educator, parent coach, counselor, speaker, and author, all based on how our brains learn. I'm also the mom, excuse me, to 18-year-old twin boys, and I'm coming to you straight from Kling Central, my laundry room and office all put together. This is where the magic of the family happens.
It's funny. I just dropped off my two boys to college. So I've got college age children and my daughter is married. So I'm a big proponent of a healthy family, working out together, being active together. My kids saw me being active growing up and they're active now. So it's a big part of our life. And, you know, we want to talk about the brain body connection here. It's pretty unbelievable. Harry, would you like to start?
It is unbelievable. And, you know, we really only know well, as much as we have ever known in the history of humankind, really in the last 30 plus years, because all of that original research on brain research was done on sick or traumatized brains. Doctors could say, well, this part of the brain was injured in this accident or damaged by this illness, and we know that the person can no longer do XYZ, so therefore that must control this. And it's only been in recent decades that we have the kind of technology where we can take a healthy human person, ask them to do different tasks, and actually see on the technology which parts of the brain are being incorporated and used. And it's not just the brain, it's the whole brain body connection, because they're inseparable. They're inseparable. In fact, Dr. Candace Pert, who wrote the book, and we'll talk more about this in the session, she wrote, this is one of her books, The Molecules of Emotion, Why You Feel the Way You Feel, said that health and happiness are usually used in the same sentence because they're inseparable. So really, really powerful. And if we can bring that to our children, we can make their learning and their childhoods and their health that much better.
So when we exercise, when we think about exercise and movement, we think physical health. We think makes our muscles stronger, our bones stronger, cardiorespiratory training. But do we think about the brain? Now we are. Now I am. I read Dr. John Roddy's book, Spark, and it's an amazing book. And yay! And it is fantastic. I mean, every age, from young to old, we all benefit. Our brain benefits from exercise. So in this session, we're specifically talking about kids and school-age children, because we are in unprecedented times. We are in an era right now where kids are going to be learning more at home. They're talking about this hybrid learning at home and maybe going into school one day a week, maybe. We don't know how long that's going to last. So we want to talk to you about practical ways that you can get exercise and movement in your child's day, because it's so important, not only for their bodies, but for their brains.
Absolutely, Kirsten. And it's not just about the movement, but it's about learning. If I tell a child, or even an adult, if I just tell someone something, they have about a 10% chance of remembering it because they're only getting that input verbally. If I go ahead and I put it in their bodies in terms of muscle memory, and I'm going to give some examples of that in this video, their opportunity to be able to learn it in long-term memory in a way that is easily retrieved goes up to about 98, 99%. And so we're going to talk about that when we talk about some of the learning things. You know, we don't have to keep teaching things over and over and over if we teach it the way the body and the brain wants to receive it the first time.
And I think that's so important right now when kids are going to be on screen time at home. We're going to have boredom. They're going to be like, they're not going to have their friends or their regular teachers or whatever in person. So it's going to be a different way. So we want to help you be successful. So one way to do that is early in the morning, have a little exercise session. Doesn't need to be long, maybe 5 to 10 minutes to wake up their bodies, do some stretches, some midline stretches, maybe some jogging in place, maybe some jumping jacks in the morning. I would propose also doing some brain breaks during the day, where again, you do some stretches, maybe run down to the mailbox, check the mail, come back, maybe ride their bike to the corner just to get some fresh air, just to get some movement in. And plus, it's recommended to get 30 minutes of exercise for kids, 30 minutes of exercise per day. So that's 150 minutes per week. And that's on the low end, if you ask me, since I'm an
Yeah.
exercise person. So Carrie, what are your thoughts about that?
Absolutely. And you mentioned about the midline, and that's so important. And crossing the midline of our body and our brain by doing things that cross it, especially when children are young, helps those hemispheres of the brain to communicate better with each other. And so it's about working smarter and not harder. The other thing is water is so, so important. There have been several studies, and I'd be happy at another time if you would like to contact me directly after this video to talk about some of the labels of ADD, learning disabilities, all kinds of things. Actually, the symptoms that describe those labels really start to decrease if you just add water. Sometimes the brains are dehydrated, and if you're already thirsty, you're already dehydrated. So you have to stay ahead of the game. So water, brain breaks, movement. I know Kirsten can also share with you lots of information. There have been lots of studies about the importance of doing exercise in the morning before you start learning, and how those effects stay with you, not just for the next 20 or 30 minutes, but really throughout the day.
Yes, and you can be organized, and I would say make a regular schedule, getting exercise in. You could get a whiteboard and have a whiteboard with your daily, what you're going to be doing. I would say you could have structured and unstructured physical fitness, which would be unstructured would be more have the kids in charge, which is, how fun is that? Have them come up with what they want to do. You guys, there are so many ideas: obstacle courses, relay races, challenges, put on their favorite music. Carrie, I think you wanted to talk a little bit about doing vocabulary words, doing jumping jacks, or there's ways you can incorporate learning in with your exercise. We have very specific ideas, and if you are interested, it's hard. This is just a recap, and we'd be here for 2 hours if we went into everything. But if you are interested, contact Carrie or myself, and we could get into more detail. But I also wanted to hit real quick that, you know, exercise is such a broad thing. When you think of exercise, what do you think of? Walking, maybe running. Moderate exercise is great, but I'm here to really promote getting that heart rate up a little bit, because there are so many benefits to vigorous exercise. Carrie?
Absolutely. And you know, you mentioned about the learning part, and this is huge. And after being an educator and a counselor, parent coach, on and on for 30 plus years, this is like the crux of so much of what's going to help kids be successful. And I want to give you some examples. They're not all of the examples, obviously. This is just as Kirsten said, it's a recap, it's an overview. But I want to give you some examples for some different age levels. And the first one is, I had a mom contact me not that long ago, and I did this a million times with kids. Her going into first grade, child was getting her B's and D's mixed up. It's a very common thing, getting the B's and D's mixed up. And so, easy fix, you've got to put it in your body. Let me just share with you, she had her, drawing them, circling them. It didn't work, because again, it's that 10%. So I'm just going to turn right here for 1 second to show you in sign language, this is a B and this is a D. Get a better shot of my laundry here. And so I tell kids, make your bed. Make your bed. And so if they do this and they have the circles, they don't even have, you can tell them it's a B and a D, but they don't have to know the sign language alphabet. And you say, make your bed, so the circles come together. They will always know the ba and the da, make your bed, of which direction the B's and D's go from. I talked to the mom after that and I said, how's it going? She said, not one problem since. So that's an example for younger children. Another example, and no matter where in the country you are, on every standardized test, I'm going to say from 4th grade on up, the child is expected to know different angles: a right angle, an acute angle, and an obtuse angle. And we had a woman in our group who taught arithmetic, basic arithmetic, at a community college locally. And she shared with us that these kids still didn't know their angles. It's not because it wasn't taught. It was because it was taught using a paper and pencil, and that's not the way all kids learn. So let me just say one thing before I show you the angles, because I don't want anyone to think that I'm saying paper and pencil is not important. Of course it's important. That's how you can communicate on a test or figuring out a problem, what to do. But it should be the last thing you do, not the first thing you do. So if you really want kids to understand angles, and again, this is just one example, and Kirsten, I'm going to invite you to do this with me. I'm going to first do this. When I was growing up, we knew it as the peace sign, but oh, Kirsten, your little angle, it's so cute. Isn't it cute? This is a cute angle, less than 90 degrees. And so those of you that are watching, show yourself, show your kids, whoever's watching with you, your cute little angle. And then you can when you show your kids how to do this, you go, look, isn't it cute? Isn't it cute? So then you can turn to them when they hit it correct, and you can say, right on, right on, right on. And so there you go. A right angle is 90 degrees. And you can do it this way, or you can do it this way, whatever you want to do. Right on, right on. Hey, greet your family at dinner, right on. They'll never forget it. Acute, less than 90 degrees, 90 degrees, a right angle. And lastly, hang loose, obtuse. You have an obtuse angle here, greater than 90 degrees. So you can have obtuse angle day and walk around your house going, hang loose, obtuse. Your kids will never forget it. And I promise you, once they understand it, and then you ask them 3 weeks later, they'll remember it. You don't have to keep doing it over and over. Then you can look at the application of whatever it is you're trying to teach them. So I have ideas about parts of a letter, about learning geography, learning vocabulary. I'm going to do a whole class on it. But putting it in the body, muscle memory, helps with learning. One other thing is with skip counting. So you talked about movement and exercise. If kids are jumping rope, if they're playing hopscotch, if they're doing jumping jacks, whatever, counting by twos, counting by fives, depending on the level of your child and what you're working on, practicing their multiplication tables. When you add movement to those skills, your child has up to a 90% better chance, 98 to 99% better chance of remembering it.
It's incredible how important movement is, not only learning, like Carrie was just telling us, but in exercise. Exercise does so much. And you guys, this is stressful times, especially for our children. So if we can incorporate exercise to reduce stress, to release endorphins, endorphins are feel-good hormones, and that's what we want to flood our children with. We want them to have great confidence. We want them to, be de-stressed. So let's add movement in our learning. Let's add movement and exercise in their days, just for them to be filled with good feelings. And so I mentioned rigorous exercise before, which is really cool. A lot of children suffer from anxiety. I have a daughter that suffered with anxiety through school, and it's a real thing, and it can be a real struggle. With exercise, when we increase our heart rate and breathing in the context of exercise, and this has to be a little bit above your comfort zone or your child's comfort zone. It's more like a sprint to the corner and back, or a sprint halfway up. You don't want to do it for too long, but maybe like 10 to 30 seconds there and back. They learn that these physical signs don't necessarily lead to an anxiety attack. So it can rewire their brain. So when their heart rate starts going and they start, getting worked up, it's not anxiety, they're working out. So you're rewiring their brain. I think that's just phenomenal and so interesting. Carrie?
Exactly. And there's been so much research, Kirsten, and one of the most recent studies that comes to mind was done at Duke University, where they looked at the effects of people who had been diagnosed with anxiety, depression, and they looked at the benefit of exercise compared to people who weren't exercising and were taking Zoloft. I'm not putting Zoloft down, I'm just telling you the study. And what they found was that the people who had the exercise had much better results than people that were just on the medication. And so the reason for that is we know that those endorphins, we know that those happy chemicals, the happy juice in your brain and also in your gut, we have the gut is known as the second brain in releasing those neurotransmitters, those chemicals. And here's why, here's the why. I mentioned earlier about this book, Dr. Candace Pert, Molecules of Emotion, Why You Feel the Way You Feel. And I had the honor and privilege of working with Dr. Pert back in, I'm going to share this with you. This is my, here we go, 1998. She signed it for me. The house is burning. This is one of the things I'm going in for. But one of the things that she taught me and taught the world is about the opiate receptor. And she is the first person in the history of the world to prove the body-brain or brain-body connection. All of us have, you know, intuitively probably said, of course it's connected, but I don't think anybody really knew how. And she was the first person to prove it. And here's how she did it. And I'm going to use what I said about putting your body into it to teach you. So if you would join me, Kirsten, and everybody out there, would you go ahead and do this? This is your opiate receptor. And your opiate receptor is a little tiny, tiny microscopic receptor on the cells in your body that grab on, respond to the chemicals that are being released in your brain. And so here's what happens. If you are depressed, anxious, fearful, you know, putting out those negative emotions, the chemicals that are being released in your brain are the ones that are the stress hormones, cortisol, and that's what's being released into your body, and that's what that opiate receptor is grabbing onto, having an impact on every system in your body. If you're exercising, if you're focusing on happy thoughts, if you're focusing on being positive, the chemicals that are being released in your brain are the ones that are reacting, that are being released, and that's what your opiate receptor is grabbing onto, again, impacting every cell in your body. And so you can't separate it, as Kirsten said. And the place really to begin is movement, not just exercise. That's the big part, because you want to get your heart rate up and get that oxygen flowing to your brain. But movement in terms of you know, just even crossing the midline, putting movement in your body, and you're learning, like I just briefly showed you with making your bed and the angles, and it's all one big circle. You can't break it. So it's very
one big circle. And even we as adults, we're in front of the screen a lot, even more now than ever. But doing that infinity sign or the forever, what did you call it, Carrie?
Oh, it's called lazy eights.
Lazy eights. So your index finger, yes, doing this, you know, maybe 12 times, and doing it with your other hand, the eights. That side was harder. But this is a refresher for your brain. This movement is better than a cup of coffee, because it's kind of like, oh, why do I feel better? It's just that simple movement. And so it helps adults, helps children. Let's get back to the exercise really quick, because I want to throw out some ideas for you. I mentioned some unstructured and structured. You could have challenges. You could have weekly challenges with your kids. You could have them come up with the challenges. You could do jump squats, push-ups, jumping jacks, burpees, put on some music. You could play their favorite music, and to the main verse of the song, you could do burpees, or you could do jumping jacks. And a song, let's be honest, is like 3 minutes long. That would be a nice break. Out in the driveway, you could make an obstacle course, and you don't need expensive equipment for that. You could put out water bottles and have them laterally jump over them. You could say, when you get down there, we're going to do 12 jumping jacks, and we're going to sprint back down, and just do like a 5-minute circuit. You could also do circuits where you set up, okay, over here, we're going to do some bicep curls. Over here, we're going to do some push-ups. Over here, we're going to do some planks. They can come up with it. There are a million ideas. I'm happy to share if you want more specifics. There are balloon games you can play with. Kids love to play with balloons. If it's raining outside, use your stairs for a workout. There's so much you can do, but be proactive, schedule it in, because if you don't, it won't happen.
Exactly. And I want to share another way that parents can help their kids put some math skills. If we had the time, I could go through all kinds of skills, not just math, but I wanted to share this with you. Years ago, I wrote a book called It's Not About Math, It's About Life. And it's all about making math real and how do you show kids how math is in your real life. This is a whole other class that I'm going to put together on YouTube. This is something that was in my book called the Thump Thump page. And if you're interested in getting a copy of this, just send me your email and I'd be happy to put a copy and email it to you. But basically, this is teaching kids to track their heart rate mathematically. And so as you can see, it says we have different dates. We did once a week from September through November. The kids did at rest, movement, and then what was the difference? So they were learning about an at-rest heart rate. They were learning to take their pulse after their movement and then looking at the differences. The other thing you can do with this after you create this, and you can do it as many days, as many weeks, as many months as you choose to, and I don't have a copy of that here, but it's also about graphing it and teaching the graphing skill. You know, kids are very self-centered. They want to know, what is it about me? And so if you're teaching them how to do graphing, or comparing graphs or whatever, depending on the age level of your child and their ability level, you're using their own data from their bodies to use these great math skills that they're going to need for the rest of their lives.
I love that. I love how you're teaching about, they're learning about their bodies, about their heart rate, as well as math at the same time. I mean, that is perfect. So let's wrap it up. And so I just wanted to tell you, my call to action would be follow me. I'm on Instagram, Kirsten QuickFit. I have a Kirsten QuickFit Facebook page. I also have a challenge page where I do monthly challenges, physical challenges, so you can get ideas of what you and your family might want to do. I'm also on YouTube. I download, or I should say upload, 3 to 5 videos a week with workouts. I am going to be doing some youth fitness workouts with kids, and I'm going to be uploading those. So if you're interested, let me know. If you're like, hey, give me an idea for a brain break, I'm happy to do that. Just reach out to me, check out my YouTube channel, Kirsten QuickFit, and subscribe, and then you'll know when I do new videos. Carrie?
Absolutely, and I'm going to be sharing some of your videos with some of the parents that I'm working with as well. And my call to action is to invite you to do a few things. The first is, please check out my Facebook page it's at carriekling.parenting. Every day I post ideas, behavioral strategies, learning ideas, information about how our brains and bodies work together. I'm also getting ready to launch, so depending on when you watch this, today is August 12th, and the launch has started. On September 8th, 2020, I'm going to begin an online parent coaching group for parents of children preschool through 6th grade, helping you with resources, activities, behavioral strategies, things to do at home. I have one guest speaker lined up a month. It's all on my Facebook page. Incredible nationally and internationally known people who are experts in the field of education, learning, and parenting. We're also going to do questions and answers. I'm going to do mini lessons to teach you lots of things. And my website is my name. It's www.carriekling.com. I'm going to have a YouTube channel set up here. It's already set up, but nothing's on it. Hopefully in the next week or so, that will happen. So thank you so much for inviting us into your home, your computer, your phone, wherever you are watching this, and allowing us to share our passions with all of you in the hopes of helping families through these very challenging times. Kirsten, do you want to say anything else?
Thanks, you guys. Reach out.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.